Hi, the Answer Lady and Ask Jack are back with part 2. Before we proceed, let me remind you, we're working on a mechanical carriage without any electronic parts. We do not recommend that you soak a carriage that contains electronics. We were going to clean quietly to ourselves, but we found some interesting pockets of crud for you to look at, so we're going to let you clean along with us.
All right, this is what's of interest. If you'll notice this particular
Your finger's in our way.
This particular piece of crud right here.
Ooh, look at
I
that.
got part of it, but part of it is under this flipper. Now, when we soak it, that's going to come out. And that's one of the reasons we're going to do that. Here, again, let me turn it. We've got a little bit underneath here, okay? And that little flipper is going to start not easily turning because of that fuzz underneath. Now, I can take these apart and clean them.
Look at that one. Ew!
Dust elephants.
Look at this stuff coming apart.
But I can take these apart, and now see, that one's spring-loaded, and this has also been a problem we've repaired on another one. You get so much crud underneath there, that spring load tends to hang up.
Yeah.
And it won't pull
back.
And
it's tricky for me or for other knitters. We know they should flip back, but when you test them with your hand, they do flip back.
Right.
And what you're not realizing is they're not flipping back fast enough to control the needles correctly.
Right. And there's another dust rhino coming out.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these things are going to come loose when we soak this piece of equipment. And you can see why I love my little dental tool now.
Yeah.
Here's something else that's invaluable. It is called a pen light. And it's a pen, but look at how much illumination it gives us to try and find this crud. Like I said, especially under these spring-loaded pieces. But you can go through and you can actually see what... Yep, there's a good... If we can turn this so the camera can see what we're seeing. See all that crud that's underneath that flipper? Can you...
I do. I can't... Yes, I'm sure the camera's picking that up.
All right, yeah. And again, that's going to slow it down just enough that it'll miss a stitch. When that should be popping right back, it won't. But we're going to get in there and clean it up. Now, this one in particular comes loose on this side with the circlip. But if you don't want to take these things apart, you shouldn't have to. So that's what we're going to do. Why don't we take a break and do some quiet cleaning to ourselves, and then we'll come back.
Okay, I want to ask you one more thing before we go. This is the specific problem that we were contacted about, is the lady's reader is not rotating. So when we soak this whole thing in Marvel Mystery Oil, that should loosen all of her impacted, turned yellow and cruddy oil and get it looser and more fluid. But how is she going to get it out from inside there? Will the mystery oil just wash it out?
It will for the most part. We're going to let it soak long enough that all of this crud's actually going to absorb oil too, and where it's light and fluffy like that, it's actually going to... yeah, she's making a collection.
Yes, isn't that lovely?
Why my machine isn't working right.
And actually, look how forgiving it is. This one is working right.
Oh, yeah.
It was feeling a little stiff, I confess, but...
This is my suggestion, is that compressed air works really well, for especially with these rolling drums, to get down under the drum and between
So after we've soaked it...
Right.
Run some... Is it the canned compressed air okay? Because we don't... Most of us don't have an air compressor. I know you being a mechanic have one, but...
Well, most people don't, but you know, you can go to... I'll figure out a way to get you to some compressed air. Now we're going to show you our 2 for $1 at the dollar store lasagna pans. And the thing is that the Marvel Mystery Oil is designed to adhere to a metal surface. So if you use one of your cooking pans, it's going to adhere to the metal surface.
I was going to use our lasagna pan that we make lasagna in, and Jack talked me out of it. This is going to be a special purpose lasagna pan that will never have actual food for humans in it. But we did discuss, we could have gone to the thrift store too. As long as you label it something you're never going to eat out of, it would be fine.
Yeah, put it in the garage for cleanup. You can clean your hands, you can clean any other parts that you want to in this tray. Oops.
Well, we thought our lasagna pans were such a clever idea, and they are, but we bought the small size of lasagna pan, and it was not quite long enough, so you would need to buy the full-sized family of 12 lasagna pan. But what we have found that's going to work for us is what is normally called a sweater box that you buy at Walmart or something like that for around $2 to $3.
This is not a Walmart commercial.
No, no, it's not. Absolutely the farthest thing. However, they are a good source for that kind of stuff.
And you'll notice that the pan's also really good for keeping all the
All our
spare
parts are now stored in it. Spoiler!
Okay. Now, here we go. And we're in there. Now what you want is you really want something that you don't have to put 27 quarts of oil into to get the oil to cover the machine. What I'm seeing now is probably we're not going to cover these drums with what we've got. What you need to remember is the oil that we're going to use is reusable. You'll get
Not in the car engine.
not in the car engine, but for cleaning stuff.
So, since this is a sweater box that comes with a lid,
Right.
you
yeah.
would just, when we're done with it here, cover it, label it as to what it is so nobody thinks it's blood. Because
Right,
it is
yeah.
a lovely red.
That's right. We're not killing anybody.
And if
to
CSI
perform
comes
this.
to our house, they will wonder, but they can tell they have those forensics people.
Right, right. But you'll notice what I'm doing is I am soaking these drums, and it won't hurt to rotate the drum while we're pouring the oil on. That was the problem. Now for the one that's clogged up,
It's absolutely frozen, which
yeah,
mine
it's
are not.
absolutely frozen up, that won't work. But you will be amazed that when it sits on here like this, come back and a little bit of movement and then a little bit of movement.
Now, we're going to leave it however long we see fit, but if your machine is more than dirty, if it really is locked up and will not knit, how long do you think the first soaking before they go over it with a toothbrush and a little pick should be?
I would, okay, it's 4:30 now. This would be something you'd want to do in the early afternoon, cover it with oil, and come back tomorrow.
Okay.
So overnight, but I'm talking about probably 14 to 16 hours of letting it sit there and absorb this oil.
And then clean it by hand and reassemble.
Well, no, first come and try to move the part that was frozen. See what you've got. Then, if it still doesn't want to make a full rotation, let it soak
not
longer.
just a full rotation. This needs to really spin freely.
I'm taking one step at a time.
Okay.
If it won't make a full rotation at all, it's not ready to come out of the oil.
No.
Until it'll do like this, and you can use your fingertip. There's a little dimple right here in the top.
So you can
You
use
put your
it to
finger on
wind
the dimple,
with.
yeah, and if it won't wind like that, then it's not
Oh, look
free.
at now. This is interesting. Do that some more. I'll do it. Notice that it's churning up like a mill.
Yeah, it's sumping the oil.
It's sumping the oil. So it's one way to get it in there.
Right, right. And
However, what it looks like to me, we used a full bottle. Is that a quart?
this is 32 fluid ounces.
Okay, that's a quart. Another bottle would cover everything except those drums. So since we're using a bigger box than we thought we would have to use, we're going to need more Marvel Mystery Oil, but 3 quarts should pretty much cover everything for most people.
Yes, and the pivot
Wasn't
of
this about $5 a bottle?
I think it was.
I think that's what we
it was.
paid, yeah.
But this drum, if it's seized up, part of the problem is because this drum won't move, and it's not letting this one move. I found this from working on them. This one does not seize up nearly so much as this one does.
Mm-hmm.
And if this one won't turn, you can see they're interlocked.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so
Let me
you're
move the camera a little bit.
So if you're up to here with your Marvel Mystery Oil, if your level is into this drum, then you're going to get the freeing action that you need. So you don't have to go to the top of this one. It wouldn't hurt a thing, and it's not going to hurt the machine. But in order to soak it all out, you do need to get the oil up at least to the top of this area right in here.
Okay, so what shall we do? Soak ours, clean it some more, and then come back and reassemble it in front of the camera?
Well, we can do that. What I'd like to do is postpone this long enough we can go get enough Marble Mystery Oil to cover it.
Makes sense to me.
All right. See you then.